Talking about this yesterday when Joe Biden finally, 5 days after the fact, went down to Kentucky to go meet and survey the damage of the various tornadoes that ravaged through the 4 states there. So he went to a small town, something that he could properly process, I guess. I went down to Kentucky and met with people in Mayfield, Kentucky. Yeah, but he also had another stop to make over there in Dawson Springs, and we didn't get an opportunity to talk about what he had to say when he was there. But yeah, he ran up to somebody. Well, Joe doesn't do any running, okay? He sauntered and shambled up to somebody wearing a Packers hat and had to chide Aaron Rodgers, who, if you remember, okay, has claimed that he's allergic, okay, to certain aspects of the vaccine that would preclude him from getting it, okay? But yeah, it's his medical decision at the end of the day whether or not he wants to get vaccinated. And again, okay, chided Biden for making this a political thing when he went down there, and he said, "Oh, there's no red states and blue states. This is damage and political things." And it's like, what the fuck are you doing down there? You're supposed to be there to express that the federal government has their back, look at everything at large, but instead going to the most ravaged areas, you just decided to take a guided tour downtown, some places where you could just take photo ops. Cool. So yeah, what did he have to say specifically there? So, while touring Kentucky, which had recently been ravaged by tornadoes, President Joe Biden managed to find time amid the mess to chide Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers about his vaccination status. Why? Oh, whatever. Tell that quarterback he's got to get the vaccine. Yeah, right. Okay, so I'm sure he probably, if he knows enough about Aaron Rodgers to know that he's not vaccinated, he should also know that he's allergic to components of the vaccine, but he doesn't really care about any of that stuff. But then again, when it comes to the Coof and Joe Biden getting his facts straight, you'll know by the end of this that that's not necessarily his strong suit, nor are many other things. But let's just take this on its face, okay? If Aaron Rodgers decides to follow the prescient word of Joe Biden that, yes, I do in fact, even though I've recovered, now I would have a naturally acquired immunity, I should go out there and get the jab. But if he's also going to follow, if he's going to buck his own trend, and you know what, he's been making some rather salty and, at least to me, agreeable statements when it comes to certain political figures. He's just kind of one of those fuck the state people, which I'm a little bit more sympathetic towards. Wasn't really that high on Aaron Rodgers, and did a couple of videos about his off-the-field shenanigans prior to the season. Was pretty critical about his early season success based on the very lackluster schedule when it comes to the early season for the Packers. But yeah, through stiff competition, he's performed incredibly, admirably well. And if it wasn't for politics, he might be back-to-back MVP. But whatever. If he does, in fact, get the vaccine, and if anybody out there is still on the fence about all this vaccination stuff, and finally, after all of this pushing, somebody decides, I need to go out there and get the jab. Well, the CDC warns Americans not to get the Johnson & Johnson shot over blood clot risks. Wow. All of a sudden, now they want to recognize this? Hasn't this been like a talking point for the better part of the entire year at this point? But now they're going to reference it. Okay, now we don't have to talk in shadowy language now. That's, I guess, cool, maybe. I don't know. Most Americans should be given the Pfizer or Moderna mRNA, whatever, vaccines instead of the Johnson & Johnson shot that can cause rare but serious blood clots. Wow, you just came to that conclusion now, huh? U.S. health advisors recommended Thursday the strange clotting problems. It's so strange. We had no idea this was happening everywhere. Strange clotting problems have caused 9 confirmed deaths. Really? Recent? Okay, because there's anecdotal evidence this shit has been happening for fucking months on end now, but now all of a sudden, I guess these 9 must have been related to somebody at CDC. While Pfizer and Moderna vaccines don't come with that risk, see other risks for different vaccines as far as I can go on that, and also appear to be more effective. That is actually irrefutable, okay? Like, every single time that this shit goes down, except for the pre-release hype, okay, where the single jab was supposed to, everything short of stopping a bullet, it was supposed to do just as well as Pfizer and Moderna and whatever other ones that are out there. Don't know, don't care, never gonna get it. Johnson & Johnson was supposed to do just as well, and then when rumblings about these blood clots were starting to come up, everybody was silent on it, okay? And you couldn't even talk about it on mainstream platforms, and far be it from the media to actually cover any of that shit. But yeah, this shit has been popular and known for a long time in certain circles. As an unusual move as the CDC's director, Rochelle Walensky must decide whether to accept the panel's advice. We'll see how much stock she has, or whether or not she had the opportunity to cash out before the panel made their decision on this. So yeah, we'll see what her statements are going to be. I'll wait with bated breath, I suppose. Until now, the U.S. has treated all 3 COVID-19 vaccines available to Americans as equal choice, since large studies found that they all offered strong protection and early supplies were limited. Yep, sure. J&J's vaccine initially was welcomed as a single-dose option that could be especially important for hard-to-reach groups like homeless people. So what, you could just run around with a fucking blow dart gun and go, now you're vaccinated. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. Who might not get the second dose? Oh, trust me, if you're homeless, you're well aware of needle use, so it wouldn't necessarily be hard for them to come by. But the CDC advisors said Thursday that it was time to recognize a lot has changed since the vaccines began rolling out a year ago. Yeah, a lot has changed, except for these claims. They've been around for a long fucking time, huh? But something else that's been around for a while, and something else that has been thoroughly, completely fucking debunked, okay, is what Joe Biden said. And I don't even know if I could say that on YouTube, because frankly, if I was to make something this patently, scientifically incorrect, I would be treated as a medical expert, and I am by no means a fucking medical expert. I'm a lift expert, but when it comes to getting the jab, I don't know anything about the, or at least I'm told I don't know anything about this, because, you know what, hey, all of my hours and hours of research and fucking thousands of videos that I have out there in circulation, that doesn't qualify me as an expert. No, whatsoever. And plus, I'd never make something that stupid of a statement, because I'm not president of the United States and I have carte blanche on everything. He can go out there and say everything because he has the right political affiliation, right? And he's just old kooky Uncle Joe, and perhaps this was one of those Biden gaffes. It was just a little misspeak. You can just chalk that up to his stutter, right? Well, he keeps on saying this shit, okay? He's been saying this since he's taken over as fucking president, okay? Like it or not, it's unfortunately a fact of life, but he's been repeating the claim that vaccinated people can't spread the coof, and that's just not right on any level. I don't know why he continues to say that. Listen, he knows the vaccination status of a fucking quarterback, okay, in the NFL, albeit a high-profile quarterback, but he doesn't even know basic scientific facts when it comes to the coof. Let's be real here. But if we were amassing a list of things that Biden doesn't know, we'd be here all day. But Biden falsely said this week that people who have received a Coof vaccine cannot spread the virus that causes COVID-19. Yeah, it's just wrong. It's just wrong. This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated, not the vaccinated. The unvaccinated. That's the problem. Everybody talks about freedom, but not have a shot or have a test. Yeah, freedom is not about complying about what you're trying to ineptly do, force people to do things, but whatever. Let's continue. Well, guess what? How about patriotism? Or are you just naming things now? How about you make sure you're vaccinated so you don't spread the disease to anybody else? What about that? What's the big deal? Well, that's just not how it works, Joe, okay? Vaccines apparently are safe and effective, right? They're there to take care of you and your health, okay? But again, thanks most importantly to the president, this is the time where we're under the assumption that for the first time ever, vaccines don't work unless everybody takes them. It's fucking weird how this shit works. The president was speaking to an Ohio broadcaster, W-Who, in a separate interview with WOIO, another broadcaster in the state. Biden also put forth a similar statement. Oh, okay, cool. So he had the same talking points. Those who aren't vaccinated are the ones who continue to spread the disease. Yeah, cool. And so do the vaccinated. So people should get vaccinated so you're not spreading anything else, like your legs. What? According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, whose director is on the White House COVID team. Yep, vaccinated people can still become infected and have the potential to spread the virus to others, although at much lower rates than unvaccinated people. Back up any of that stuff with scientific evidence? No, we just need a couple of decades in order to put any of that shit forward. But you know what? Hey, just take our word for it. Our vaccines are working exceptionally well. Who created the vaccines, by the way? The ones who, before you guys won the election, won in scare quotes, in 2020, you guys were saying that this is Trump's vaccine, and I wouldn't take any vaccine that was made by Trump. Yeah, but all of a sudden now it's your vaccine? Oh, okay, cool. The director said on CNN over the summer, they continue to work well with Delta, will regard to severe illness and death. That they don't do any... Oh, but what they can't do is prevent transmission. So, does that contradict what the CDC says? Does the President of the United States supersede any of his other bureaucratic institutions, or is he just allowed to continue to just fucking natter on, apparently incoherently? But it looks like maybe the President's rule is now law, okay? Maybe what he says, maybe what's handed down from the mouth of Biden is law, okay? Maybe we're back to a monarchy and we didn't even know it. Twitter bans claims that vaccinated can spread coronavirus. So now, once again, the arbiters of truth over there at Twitter, which is just a dying cesspool. I don't even know anybody who still enthusiastically uses the platform that doesn't also harbor a neurological rotting condition. Twitter will penalize users who claim that people who are vaccinated against coronavirus can still spread the disease, according to reports, even though the official guidelines from the CDC claim otherwise. Yeah, every medical journal. What the fuck are we doing here? Users can face a range of penalties for violating the policy, including having a fact check label attached to their tweet, temporary suspension, or permanent bans from the platform. Like, any of that would be terrible at this point in time. But via Mediaite, when tweets include misleading information about COVID, we may place a label on those tweets that include corrective information about the claim. The website noted in a section detailing its rules about COVID misinformation. It's not anything new, still don't like it. We may apply the labels, the tweets that contain, for example, false or misleading claims that people who have received the vaccine can spread or shed the virus or symptoms or immunity to unvaccinated people. Users can receive penalties up to a permanent ban. Okay, so we may apply false or misleading claims that people who have received vaccine can spread or shed the virus. Okay, cool. Are they saying one way or another that if that's an affirmative or a negative statement? Because that's not terribly clear, at least to me. I'm trying to view that as the most openly interpretable understanding of the statement. So, okay. Users can receive penalties up to a permanent ban. Obviously, that's what you did. Fucking tyrannizers do. The change was made on December 2nd, according to the Wayback Machine. Archives retrieved by Reclaim the Net. The policy contradicts the Center for Disease Control and Prevention guidance, which notes that risk from SARS-CoV-2 infection in fully vaccinated people cannot be completely eliminated as long as there is continued transmission of the virus. Yeah, so even if, let's just say, in some hellhole dystopian future, 100% of people are vaccinated, still going to be able to spread the disease. Now, whether or not somebody becomes infected with the disease is completely out of control. Like, hey, can't even guarantee that your vaccine is going to be stopping anybody from getting it, but it helps with symptoms. Whatever, continue to shift the goalposts. But once again, as the days go on, if you ever needed another excuse to get off of Twitter, and again, this isn't going to just stay on Twitter, this is probably going to go over to Facebook, because as you might know, their fact checks are merely just guidances after all. So I'd imagine they're probably going to be moving along the same fact-checking guidelines, because you can't stop Joe from just continuing to repeat the lie over and over and over again. So, hey, might as well shift reality for the old boy. He's still going to be around, theoretically, for another 3 years. So, nip it in the bud while you have the opportunity, I guess. So, at least you guys know the science. What you do with that afterwards, maybe the big scare quote version of science is going to go ahead and shift as well, and it's going to be only unvaccinated people are to blame for this. Who knows? I don't know. But let's shift a little bit, okay? Because we got misinformation now being just codified into Twitter law. But what about the people who are actually on the ground, okay? Not about the mistaken bureaucrats that are out there, okay? What are actual people thinking about this? And that's what we'll talk about next. With that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.